Okay, I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And this would be a time that if there's anybody that would like to address this Board of Adjustments, this board, with anything that's unrelated to new business that's on the agenda, this is a time that you could do that. All right. Seeing none, next on the agenda is minutes for July 23, 2025.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes as presented for July 23rd, 2025.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval for minutes of July 23, 2025 is approved. And at this point, we'll start the hearing portion. This is a quasi-judicial board, and so anybody that's presenting evidence or presenting anything on the two items on the agenda would come forward and be sworn in. And first item on the agenda is it's a request for a conditional use permit for an in-home child care center in an R1 single-family residential zone. And this is Caitlin Howard. It's 106 Liberty Avenue. And Amanda, do you want to give an overview? Do you affirm or swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening. You will probably, when the applicant comes up, probably recognize this. We've actually heard from them before. So this is a new location for an existing business that we approved on Silver Creek Drive. They have since purchased the property at 106, and I have that on your screen. 106 Liberty Avenue. Of course, it would be the first house on that faces Liberty Avenue, but at the intersection of Mount Vernon Road. And I will just let you know that recently this lot has been subdivided. So I've kind of shown this red line. Not sure of the accuracy of that, but that's sort of close. It had that the parcel on Mount Vernon Road has recently been subdivided. That's not shown on our map. Again, it is an R1 zone, and all notices were sent as required.
What would happen to the conditional use that's on Silver Creek Drive?
So in the wording of that motion, it was, actually I brought it here, so in the last approval, it was approved for an in-home child care facility with conditions that they bring in their state licensure, which they did. At that one, there were some parking or pull-in facilities, the three-point turn that was to be added that they did do. And that, but to your question, that the conditional use, that it is for the current property owner at that address. So basically, that expires when this property is transferred or sold.
Any questions for Amanda? All right, who would be speaking? Come on up and share what you'd like to do. And first we'll have to swear you in.
Sure.
Do you affirm or swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And state your name and address for the record.
My name is Caitlin Howard, and I live at 106 Liberty Avenue just this past weekend. So it's nice to see you all again. You're correct. I came back last year. So I've been doing in-home certified childcare for a year now, and it's been great. But we moved. We have more space now. So that's great for our family and the community with the children we serve. And the state just, that's part of the requirement is to get a zoning letter of approval. And that's kind of like the first step for transitioning to keep that licensure and everything. But we've grown a lot, well, within my limits, but within what I can take. But I've at least doubled my numbers. I can only have up to 6 kids, but I've doubled from last year, so that's really exciting. And yeah, we would just love to continue to care for kiddos at this new property, and we have a plan to put in a fence pretty soon, actually. So, yeah.
Was the move prompted as a use choice, business choice for childcare, or other factors in life? Just curious.
No, I guess it was many factors, but our previous home is just smaller, and we needed more space, and it was just kind of time, I think, for us. And we have our own children, so this house has more bedrooms.
Is the 6 limit, is that a state limit?
Yes.
Any questions for the applicant?
Do you still plan to have your hours of operation be 7:30 to 3:30, Monday through Friday, roughly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that seems like a pretty big driveway, so if 3 folks decided exactly at the same time to come, I think they can all get off of the street there, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And it also has a garage, so our personal vehicles would be in the garage too.
Gotcha.
Just in case.
Well, if there's not any other questions, I do wonder, is there anybody else in the audience that wants to address the board on this topic, on this request? Okay. We didn't have any hour limitations with the conditional use in the previous case. Okay.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit for 106 Liberty Avenue for an in-home child care center in an R1 single-family residential zone, with the hours from 7:30 to 3:30, Monday through Friday, a maximum of 6 children, and the driveway and the parking are sufficient, and that it is limited to the current owner at the current address, and the conditional use shall expire in the event that the property is sold or transferred.
Any discussion on the motion for the conditional use approval? Is that unexpected? I know we're adding a condition this time that wasn't included last time.
Can you elaborate the condition one more time for me?
The motion has been made for the in-home child care occupancy. Of course, this wouldn't include your own children, right?
Yeah.
Between the hours of Monday through Friday, what did I hear? 7:30, same hours as you had.
7:30 to 3:30.
7:30 to 3:30, Monday through Friday.
Yes.
That'd be okay? Okay.
Yep. Sounds good.
Any other discussion? All right, I'm going to go ahead and take a stab at repeating the motion. So motion is to approve a conditional use permit for an in-home child care center in an R1 single-family zone at 106 Liberty Avenue with the conditions that occupancy hours would be Monday through Friday, limited to Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. The driveway is sufficient, and it shall expire in the event of a transfer of ownership and limited to this location. Was there one other condition that I missed?
Maximum of 6 children.
And a maximum of 6 children. All right. All in favor? Or is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Thank
Congratulations.
you so much.
Okay, second item on our agenda for new business is a request for a conditional use permit for a short-term rental in an R1 single-family residential zone, and this is to be located at 113 Wood Lane with David and Catherine Williams as the applicant. And Amanda, if you want to go over it, you're already sworn in. So.
You'll see the house on your screen here. I can make it just a little bit larger. But it's located at 113 Wood Lane, which is a private road that is close to Christmas Ridge, Neely Street area. It is in an R1 single-family residential zone. And then for short-term rentals in the past, we have considered check-in time, a late check-in time of no later than 10 p.m. We've considered parking, and we've considered occupant load based on the square footage of the home.
Any questions for Amanda? So this is accessed off of Shortline? Is that right?
No, it's
No.
actually accessed, I'm gonna give you a little better frame of reference here. So Big Hill Road
Yeah.
and Woods Lane is a private road that comes off of Big Hill Road, kind of sits back behind Homestead Estates, or I guess what I would call behind, but to the west of Homestead.
Okay. Okay, well, I would ask somebody that's applicant representing that wants to come up and share what you're proposing.
How are you?
And I'll swear you in first. Do you affirm or swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. State your name and
David
address.
Williams.
Okay. Where are you located at?
I'm 113 Woods Lane.
All right.
Our goal is to downsize. We've been in our home in Richmond for 32 years, 4,800 square feet, raised our kids there. When this house came on the market, it checked all the boxes for us to downsize, and we love Berea, but we're not prepared, our home's not prepared to sell, and so we thought that a short-term rental may be the best option for us and for the neighbors. We want to provide, it's a very nice home. We'd like to provide a private, safe, secure location for traveling professionals, for tourists, that are passing through. You see the location, 2 minutes from Boone Tavern, 2 minutes from the Pinnacles, and it is very, it's private and it's secure. The house has a security system. When we travel, we stay in Airbnbs and VRBOs, and many times we get the wink and the nod if the neighbors ask, your friends visiting from out of town. We didn't want to go that route. We want to follow the rules and check all the boxes and do this right, from the top to bottom. In our experience, and we've had some experience renting vacation homes for our family, helping them. Price point typically helps eliminate a lot of the problems, and the price point on this will not be low. It'll be a good, it'll be a good value, and The maximum that we could accommodate would be 6, according, I don't know what the square footage. This is almost 2,200 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 full baths. Parking should not be a problem, but we would not rent to any more than 6. We would not allow any events or parties. So I think that would, that may alleviate some of the neighbors' concerns if they have any. But again, our long-term goal is within 2 years to move here. But in the meantime, while we do the work we need to do in Richmond, we're able to get a feel for this house and fix the things that may need to be fixed to suit us, and derive a little bit of income and provide, again, a private and safe and secure place for tourists. You got the Spoon Bread Festival. Well, I don't have to tell you all the wonderful things that you have here in Berea, but that's our thinking. So.
I know I ask this all the time. What's the 400 square feet?
200, so
200.
the building code will allow you 200 square feet per person. So you're talking about an occupant load of 11. Certainly, if that's something that they choose to not allow more than 6.
We would not allow more than 6. Not going to rent to teenagers, not going to, it would be, responsible adults, and again, traveling professionals. We have friends who are traveling nurses, and, they may spend 3 or 4 months in one place and then travel on. So this might be an option for them, visiting professors at Berea College or even at EKU. That's the target audience that we have in mind.
Being occasionally one of those traveling professionals and arriving later than 10 p.m., I do wonder, is that a limitation that you would agree with a no
Yeah.
check-in later than 10 p.m.?
Yeah, and the house is equipped with the security system. The entry doors have a code, so no one's going to be fumbling for a key. They will be emailed or text. Well, all that communication will happen in advance. But no, we wouldn't want anyone disturbing the other neighbors coming and going. But as you can see, they would drive by one home to get to our driveway.
Should this not be approved, what would be your use for that house for the 2-year period between,
We would have to rent it,
so a long-term rental?
just a long-term rental, so. Rather not go that route, but if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do, yeah.
Is there any other members in this room that would like to address this request before the board? Well, please come on up. You'll have to be sworn in, and we'll. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And state your name and address for the record.
Sydney Jersley, and my address is 1014 Burnell Drive.
Okay.
Hi. Sorry, I wrote a little something, so I'm going to be reading from my phone. Good evening. My name is Sydney Jersley, and I live on Burnell Drive, directly behind the property at Woods Lane. I'm here to respectfully ask that you deny the conditional use permit request for a short-term rental at this location. It's not about opposing responsible property ownership. It's about protecting the security, safety, and stability of our neighborhood. We bought our home expecting a quiet residential environment where we know our neighbors, not a revolving door of short-term guests. Short-term rentals often bring increased traffic, late-night noise, and parking congestion. With no consistent oversight on site, there is no guarantee that guests will respect property lines, quiet hours, or the sense of security we've worked hard to build. This property is especially close to ours. Our backyard privacy would be directly affected, and our daily lives could be disrupted. Approving this permit would set a precedent that could change the nature of our neighborhood long-term. I respectfully urge the board to consider the quality of life for the current residents and deny this application. And one other thing I just want to add is, given that it's off of Big Hill Road, I've, seen the congestion on a daily basis. And my mom personally was turning around on that road and tried to back out to turn around and go back home because there was already an accident there. And in the process, almost got hit. So just, thinking of it from a traffic perspective too, it could just be putting other people at risk. And we're hoping to raise our family at our home. And I just, just the safety concern is the biggest thing for me. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure you have some thoughts in response. One thing I was wondering is, I was thinking there was a fence line along that between that and Burnell, but there
Yes,
may
there
may
is.
not be.
Their homes are surrounded by a privacy fence, as is 113, our home. So, 6-foot privacy fence. In my mind, for a short-term rental property, the traffic is going to be much less than if we rent to a family of 4 or 5. It's going to be occasional. I don't expect this place would rent every day. It'd be great if it did, but, that's usually not the reality. Safety and privacy are our concerns too. We share those same concerns for us and for anyone that might rent from us, be it short-term or long-term renters. But the traffic on Prospect, Big Hill Road, can be an issue. You got the flashing lights right there. It's 35 miles an hour. And I've noticed in the time we've been working on the house and staying there that it seems that a lot of the incoming traffic is now peeling off there at 956. Is that the bypass that comes around? So you don't have anecdotally, you don't have as much coming into town, so you can turn left off of Woods Lane coming into town easier because of that 956. But I would just add that, the traffic, parking, and those issues will be less with short-term rentals than they would be with a long-term rental of a large family, or, if when we move in, our coming and going will be probably more often than an occasional renter.
As far as setting a precedent, Amanda, you probably know what I'm about to ask. Like, do we know where the nearest short-term conditional use is to this location?
Would be on Prospect Street. So right about where Prospect turns into Big Hill Road, which is really just kind of at the bottom of what I call bottom of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
really about maybe Forest Street or that area of Big Hill, again, Prospect Street that turns to Big Hill Road right there.
Amanda, I do have a question. Do we have any data at all from law enforcement that says, here's the R1 zone, here's an R2 zone, here's a B? Do we know where the pockets of crime activity or calls for service for whatever, do we know where those happen? And if we do, how frequent do those calls come from short-term rentals?
So I've not pulled the data from the police department in over a year to compare that. So I don't want to speak to that, but I will tell you from our office, we receive complaints of all sorts. Conditional use permits are reviewed, at least reviewed each year, so that we can make sure that people who had conditions that they were and still being met. And we actually have less complaints on short-term rental than we do long-term rental because, again, what we tend to see, or what I believe might be, that the reason for that is with short-term rental, those owners or maintenance folks, whichever it may be, in this case, I presume the owners, you all would take care of any issues that come with the house. But typically, those owners are actually present more if it is a short-term rental, because they are going there between each stay to prepare the house for the next guest. So tends to be a little, in our opinion, a little more oversight.
So, if somebody that is gonna be staying there needs you all, like, who's gonna be available 24/7?
I will. We are 20 minutes away, maybe less if they'll move the barrels off the interstate. But yeah, we're close. There have been days that I've made 4 trips back and forth. But yeah, we're very close. So yeah, need be, I could be here in 20 minutes. So.
Oh, sorry, yes, please come on up and we'll have you swear in. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And state your name and address for the record.
Thomas Horn, 1016 Burnell Drive. I live in the house with the pool connecting to the property. And it's, the biggest fear here is the unknown. You can say we're going to rent it to responsible people, we're going to do what. I've rented B&Bs with 2 other couples before, and it's been in one name. We haven't told people that it's 3 couples. Now, it's not to hide anything, but it's just what you do. That's the fear. It's impossible to totally vet a short-term rental. You're not going to run background checks. You're not going to know the people. So how can you promise that it's only going to be responsible people in the house? And we can hear the neighbors when they lived there before. And I'm sure they could hear us. And most of the time, that's fine. We don't necessarily object to that. But we're also looking at the possibility, even if it doesn't happen, that you do rent it every day. That would be fantastic business. Or that it's a group of people that are there for a month. And then we just don't know what's going on. And so it's the unknown of the short-term rental that's the scary part for all the property owners. Because again, you can do your best to vet, but there's just no guarantee as to who would be renting the place. Thank you.
Mr. Williams, that does bring up a question in my mind. Is are pets going to be allowed at your rental, specifically dogs?
It would be dog-friendly with an additional fee, but not pet-friendly. Yeah. And may I, to the gentleman's point, no, we can't guarantee. You can't. But we can ask for the names of all the occupants. And, you know, we have a contract, you know, that would do that. Still not a guarantee, but, you know, again, you know, price point seems to thin out some of the trouble. And again, it's not, you know, for a three-bedroom home, it would be cheaper than trying to rent 3 rooms maybe at Boone Tavern, but it's not going to be the cheapest. I would venture to say it would be the nicest short-term rental in Berea. We've rented a couple ourselves for different events through the years. But no, you can't guarantee. But we don't want, you know, knowing that this is going to be our home, hopefully our forever home, we don't want anyone in there that's going to cause any trouble, do any damage, upset any of the neighbors, because, you know, want to get along with the neighbor. So.
Amanda, I think you mentioned that as far as the square footage of this location, it conceivably could have 11 people living there. Yeah.
Amanda, I have a question. Let's say that this conditional use permit gets granted and there are 7 items of conditions that are placed on this permit. If I am the neighbor and people are checking in and slamming doors at midnight when they're supposed to be there at 10, they're parking on the street when they're supposed to be parking in the parking lot, they have dogs that are barking all night, what recourse do I have as the neighbor to make sure that the next round of folks who do rent this, what can I do to ensure that it won't happen the next time?
Certainly let our office know. We want for people to comply with those conditions. We do want for these types of uses to be able to live with the neighbors that are next door. And so certainly, please let us know. Again, we don't know if people don't let us know. We're doing kind of an annual review, checking the boxes, but there is the opportunity that if those conditions aren't being met, that it would be brought back before this board, and same as this hearing, all the neighbors would be notified so that we all gather again to discuss, right? And possibly that use would be not allowed if those conditions weren't being met.
Just an aside, a lot of the property owners that have come to us with short-term rentals that also have long-term renters, they like the short-term renters better because they're in those properties so often, and they don't have the opportunity to go into the long-term rentals like they do the short-term rentals, and there's really a lot more problem with the long-term renters. Isn't that right?
Well, again, that's really where the complaint basis comes to, just to our office. Again, not looking really into the data of what happens on police record. But at least for our office, to date, have not received any complaints for short-term rentals.
And the city does have a noise ordinance.
We don't, but
Or-
certainly,
okay.
there's not a written noise ordinance, but certainly the police will come and knock on your door and tell you to turn the music down. Or whatever the case may be, but, you know, certainly the police would respond in that call.
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Given that the occupancy is 11, Mr. Williams is saying 6, could we put that as a condition?
Absolutely.
I'm wondering if there are any other conditions that we haven't traditionally included that might address concerns that have been raised tonight. One condition I don't think we've addressed, and it would perhaps not be favorable to the owner, would be to guess have a limit on the number of occupancies. But I don't know that that would necessarily address concerns that have been raised tonight in terms of how many nights a month or something.
Not sure how that would be.
I don't know how that would be enforced, and I don't really think that's fair.
Fair enough. Well, any other ideas? The chair's open to a motion.
So I want to say that I hear you, what you're saying with your concerns. But as Amanda said, we haven't had any complaints on short-term rentals. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a motion that we approve this conditional use permit for a short-term rental at 113 Woods Lane in a single-family residential zone. The check-in can be no later than 10 o'clock at night, no more than 6 people. The parking has to be off-street. It's limited to the conditional use permit is limited to the current owner at the current address, and it shall expire in the event that the property is sold or transferred. The reason I am leaning to making this motion is because eventually he's going to be your neighbor. As soon as he gets this house, his home in Richmond finally sold or whatever, he's eventually going to be your neighbor, and he's not going to want to make you upset, you know. So that's my reasoning for the short-term rental approval.
Denise Hagan has made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second made. And the motion, is there any further discussion? The motion is to approve a conditional use for short-term rental in an R1 single-family residential zone at 113 Wood Lane with the following conditions. Check-in to be no later than 10 p.m., no more than 6 guests. All parking shall be off-street, and this condition shall only apply with the current owner and shall expire in the event of transfer of ownership. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. And any other business? Seeing none? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Second? All in favor?